Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Left Wing Back podcast with me, Kevin Regan. The episode is in association with Carlow Cabs. You can download the Carlow Cabs app for a fast, reliable service from Carlow's #1 taxi company. On today's programme, I have a conversation with Turlough O'Brien following his decision to step down as the Carlow Senior Football Manager last Saturday. We delve into the reasons for standing down, the good times and the bad times during his reign. We talk about the frustration of certain comments made by well-known media pundits, the friendship with long-term sidekick Tommy Wogan, kicking around with Kerry legend Mick O'Connell at his own home, sitting in the dressing room with Kerry players after a Munster Final, and much more over the course of the next hour or so. Look, I'm at a few days, no doubt. Big decision you made on Saturday. I have to ask, firstly, you've obviously put a lot of thought into it, but the guidelines, I suppose, for the map going forward in terms of fixtures and that weren't till actually the day before. So this is something you've been thinking about a long time, but that obviously forced the issue 24 hours beforehand, then I take it as well.
Well, the GA had initially indicated that Intercounty would probably come back after club fixtures and that they were talking about October, but it was not confirmed until last week. So I did have it in my head that this was their plan, and I quickly realised that if that was the case, the season was going to go into November, December, and the league was going to start in January for 2021. Now, I wasn't going forward for January for the 2021 season, so the county board would have been in a very difficult position to look for a manager in December. They'd have no time to do any research or anything. So I thought about it and I said, look, the best thing to do would be to step away now. It gives him a chance to appoint a new manager and still gives him plenty of time to be in place before September when the county team are allowed back to train together in a group. So it seems logical to me the way to go about it, but I'm disappointed that I couldn't finish out the season. I would love to have done the championship, but realistically, it's just not, it wouldn't be the right thing to do, and it may not happen anyway, because if we get a new spike in the winter months, who knows what's going to happen.
Right, so I mean, when the news dropped on Saturday, I have to admit I was kind of surprised. I just couldn't believe it when it came through. But I mean, for you then, you must have been pretty overwhelmed with all the messages that were coming through, because you would have been getting texts left, right, and centre, and obviously the media would have been hounding you as well. So how did you deal with those couple of hours after the news broke?
Well, I suppose I spoke to the county chairman on, was it Thursday? Was it Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night. No, Friday. And, he was disappointed, obviously, but he was aware that I was thinking that way. And he said they wanted to release a statement then as well, and they would do it later in the week. And I thought about that and I said, look, I don't think that'd be the right thing to do, because once I tell the management and the players, it's going to leak out anyway. So you're better off prepared now and have it ready. So we just agreed then that it would be released once I told the players. And we did that then when we did it. And the messages started coming in straight away, especially from the players. And I've been overwhelmed, to be honest with you, with the reaction. I wasn't expecting it. I suppose it was 11:30 at night before I stopped answering messages and phone calls, and I hadn't got through them all. And I had to do it again the next morning. I was at it for another 2 hours. So a massive lot of people to contact. I was flattered, to be honest with you, with the reaction. I got messages from all over the country, from players and other county teams and managers and other teams and so on. And a lot of nice messages from journalists as well. So look, it was nice, I suppose, to hear those messages. And, I was gutted. That I didn't finish out the year, and I feel I let the players down a little bit, but I really felt there was nothing much I could do about it, and that's where it is now, And look, I'm very confident that if they get a manager appointed fairly quickly, that there's a good championship in the lads and a great league, I think, as well, because the panel is very strong, and we brought through a good few promising young players now through the league before it was halted. There's a lot of young talent coming through now, and I think if you can gel that together, I think there's a good future there.
I would certainly think that none of the players would feel like you were letting them down. You're not, I suppose, at this stage after the 6 years you gave, but I'm sure one or two of them possibly tried to twist your arm, did they? Or what was the story? Like, what was the general feedback when the news broke?
No, they tried to break my neck for different reasons, maybe. No. Look, I think they understood. I had given 6 years. Like, it's a long time to be involved. Really, I think the position of county manager now, it really only suits, a school teacher or someone that's retired. It's a massive commitment in terms of time. Like, your contact time with the players is one thing, but the other time is the killer. It's 7 days a week, and it's nearly 12 months of the year, even though your season, finishes when it finishes, because you're thinking ahead to the next league campaign, and you might be looking at championship games in other counties, and you'll be looking at the form of other teams and so on. So you'll be following their progress through the provincial championships maybe, and looking at their club competitions as well. So it's non-stop. It
absolutely is, and I mean, my understanding is that there's a lot of time that goes into it that people don't see. But for the most part, you took on the burden of doing all those, I suppose, unsung hero jobs, like the jobs that no people really want, but jobs that have to be done. Did you learn to delegate over time? Because I know at one stage you were probably doing a lot of the video editing yourself or looking for different things. You're going up and down the country looking at matches and stuff like that. Is that something you kind of learned as time went on?
Well, yeah, I had to, yeah, because my normal mode of operation would have been that I would have done almost everything. Certainly at club level, I would have been doing everything. When I went to the county first, I was doing the video, I was doing the training, and I was doing the managing. And, it was grand for a while, but you can't work effectively if you do that, So, look, I had a very good managing team around me from the start. I had great guys in there, strength and conditioning. We had the support of IT Carlow. We had their facilities, fantastic facilities. We had Damien Sheen out there as well. And we had some of the students in college then as well to help with, they were getting experience with Damien and in the testing and all that sort of stuff. So there was a great team there. The selectors were brilliant. All very, very tuned in, very, very good player people, always put the players first. We had a great liaison officer there with Vinny O'Brien there, I have to say as well. He's been brilliant for us. And look, we had a great backroom team in the end. In I suppose when Stevie was involved, he was coaching, and Stephen Amara came in after Stevie. So we had pretty good setups in the end. But I was doing coaching originally, and that's where I love to be, is at coaching level. And if I have a regret about managing, it's that I couldn't coach any longer. Really, I wasn't taking the odd session or maybe the odd bit of a session here and there. So that was difficult because really, the real enjoyment has been on the pitch and being part of sessions and guiding sessions and planning sessions and so on. Now, I would have worked closely with Stephen, both Stevens, on the preparation of the sessions and so on. So, yeah, look, you have to delegate and have to trust people. And we had a great working relationship within the management team, and I think that was easy to see because we got on so well. There was never any rows. We're on the same wavelength about football, how it should be played. And we were all pretty tactically aware as well. No, it was a real team effort, and I think this focus on managers really it's overhyped. It's coming from the Premiership in England. People talk about managers this and managers that, but really it's about the people around the team, and it's particularly about the players. If you don't have players, you're going nowhere. I've always said that players win matches and managers lose them, and belong about being told that things don't go your way.
Yeah, for sure. When you come in first, so I know you did a little bit with Rainbow before he stepped aside.
Yeah.
And that would have been probably more so in a coaching manner. But then when you took up the mantle in late 2014, you said it was going to take at least 3 years to try and see some sort of progress. Yeah. But having said that, there was huge frustration in that first year. Did you kind of find it hard to maybe stay positive, stay motivated, even though you knew you needed 3 years, but things maybe weren't moving as quickly as you would have thought initially at the same time?
No, I wouldn't say that though, Kevin. I came in there the very last week of the National Football League in 2014. We played Waterford in the last game. Anthony had been struggling, and I think it wasn't his fault. I don't think he had the support structure around him. He wasn't a Carlow man. He didn't have access to the clubs, really. He didn't know the club contacts. And he was kind of left to his own devices, which I think was unfair because Well, he was a young, inexperienced manager, great footballer, obviously, as you know, and a lovely fella. And I just felt he was left out on a limb, and it was difficult for him. And I was at a loose end actually that year because I'd stopped with Aero that year, and I was going to all the games, watching all the games, and he didn't approach me until the last week of the league, as I said, and he met me in work one day, and we had a great chat. And I said, look, I no problem, love to get involved, to give you a hand out. I said, but if I'm doing it, I'd like to coach the team, and I'd like to start on Tuesday night. And that's the way it started. And our first game was Waterford, down in Waterford. So I'd only two sessions that week. We lost 199. So it was a bit of sign of an improvement there, because I think the previous game they were well beaten. I think could have been Clare in the game before that, they were hammered, I think, and so it was a bit of a boost. We were very much in contention in that game, and just we had enough work done. Then obviously it was a bit of a break, and we're back to the championship then, and we had a massive lunch again, Meath, and look, we were hammered on the day 7-13 to 6 points, but as bad not as the scoreline sounds, we actually put in quite a reasonable performance for a good bit of that game, given where we had come from, so. We proved that then, because we turned the tables on Waterford in the qualifier. We won that game in Dr. Cullen Park, and then we were playing Clare. Now, Clare were under the crest of a wave at that time. Colin Collins doing fantastic. The Clare team had become a real force, and we were beaten 4-24 something to 2-13. It was a high scoring game. I thought there was signs of progress, and I was happy enough, but obviously we're disappointed with the scorelines. I don't think they did us justice, really. I thought we were a little bit better than the scorelines showed. So into the 2015 campaign, don't forget, we were last in 2014. We had a massive problem in defence. I think we conceded 12 goals, 120 points. That National League, we had a minus 58 scoring differential at the end of the league. We were leaking scores, and that was the first thing, was to try and start correcting that, and we finished fifth in the league that year, in the first year, and we got off to a great start. We played London, they beat them, we beat Waterford away, always hard to do that, and we had drawn with Wicklow. So we had 5 points in the first 3 games, so we were actually in a great position. So I suppose we fell away a bit then after that, and look, we finished fifth. There was nothing really between us, and I think Leitrim finished above us, so that was progress, So I don't think, you could say it hadn't gone well. Okay, we were well beaten in 2 championship games. I actually thought coming to the Laois game that we were actually going to do well, but we were actually outclassed, and it was obvious on that day that one of the big problems we had was that we weren't conditioned enough. Laois were much more physically stronger than us and fitter than us, and they actually blew us away on the day, So that was the big lesson from 2015. And in fairness to Damien, he addressed that, and there was significant improvement then, going forward after that, into 2016. And again, we showed incremental improvement. We finished fourth in 2016. So, there was progress through the first couple of years there. We obviously played Louth then in the championship. We got well beaten in Portage, 224 to 311, and then we had a good win in the qualifiers over Wicklow. We got a big score up against Wicklow, 117, I think to 112, I think it was, and we had an away game then to Cavan in Breffni Park, which was a very attractive fixture. Cavan would be a traditional, strong Ulster County, great tradition there. And Breffni Park is one of the iconic venues as well. It's a great kind of a amphitheatre place to play in. And so we went up there and we conceded a goal in the first few minutes and a point. And I'd say people were saying we're going to be scutched. But the team, I actually have to say, the coach had come in just before that. He'd taken a couple of sessions and we had been working on a game plan, and we didn't panic. We stabilised ourselves at a goal and a point, and we dominated the first half, and we had a goal disallowed just before half time. I think if it had been allowed, I think we might have gone on to win the game. We lost 13 to 12 points, and look, it was, again, I think it was signs of progress. But I suppose Stevie had arrived in now, and this was the start of a great relationship. Stevie was a fantastic coach, absolutely fantastic coach, very innovative, very much on the same thinking as myself in terms of how we play the game, and similar to John Morrison, who's one of my great friends, and he was a great coaching help to me down the years. So, look, I thought we made some progress. As I said here, we went from the last team in Division 4, we're now up to 4th. And we're looking forward to 2017. So I think it's going the right direction, Kevin.
Yeah, I would agree. I suppose the 2015 championship defeats is maybe what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
In particular, but with 2016,
definitely. I'm forward to say we were scotched, but we actually played quite well for a lot of that game. And people might think that's nonsense, but I don't see it that way. I thought we showed some promising signs that day, but they got on some unbelievable goals that day. You wouldn't score them again. In one of those days where everything goes your way. But anyway,
yeah. So 2016, there was a marked improvement, a noticeable improvement. And I have to ask you about bringing in Poacher, because I think, you're one of the most selfless people I know, because if you look at a lot of county teams and county managers, they would be a little bit about themselves perhaps, and they'd want to be in charge and want to show a little bit of authority, etc., etc. But I think it's a high mark of you that you were actually willing to step aside somewhat and let Poacher come in and take a bit of this coaching, and do that delegation. I'd have to compliment you on that, because you don't see it too often.
Well, the way I look at it, Kevin, is I was there to do a job. The job was to improve Carlow's football fortunes. And whatever it took, that's what I was going to do. And it's an old saying, but it's amazing what can be achieved when no one gives a care about who gets the credit for it. And that's my approach to it, And I knew Stephen from a couple of years before that. I had gone up to St. Paul's School in Kilkeel for a couple of years to a coaching clinic Stephen was running. I got to know him through Gaelic Life magazine, first of all. I used to buy that every week. Either I'd buy it in a news agency if they had it, but there wasn't too many news agencies down here had it, or I'd buy it online, because John Morrison had a weekly column in it, and myself and John were fantastic friends for a long, long number of years. We talked to each other nearly every day. And Stephen had the column in the next page in Gaelic Life. And it was a coaching column. And he advertised that he was doing this for the school. So I went up in December with Tommy Wogan and myself went up twice. We went up to it. And I was immediately taken with Stephen by his personality more than anything else, because he had these coaches in from the clubs in County Down. And the clubs in County Down now, it'd be tribal now, really tribal, and rivalism would be really, really red hot. And he was having a cut at everybody in a funny sort of a way. He was able to get across to everybody, and yet he wasn't given ground, And I liked that in him, and he was very entertaining. But his ideas were really, really good, and they were a similar vein to what John Morrison was talking about, and what I was trying to do myself as well. And he had the school team demonstrating some of the small games that he was talking about. So I said to myself, this guy is going to be snapped up by somebody. It's going to be in Down, or it's going to be in Armagh, or in Louth, or somewhere around the area. And I said, look, if I don't ask him now, I mightn't get the chance again. So I asked him to come down and take a couple of sessions before Cavan. And that's how it started, And we clicked straight away. Like he's some character, like, as you know yourself, he's some character, like, and the players bought into him immediately. They loved him. They loved his personality as well, and his ideas were fresh, and we became very close as a team and a management team. We were a great bond between us all, and so over the summer, then I said to Stephen, look, I want you to come back next year. And we were trying to work out the logistics of that, because it's about 150-mile round journey for him, and because he's coming from a school in Kilkeel. And we were talking about one session a week originally, and this is how it started. And the county board, of course, were concerned about the distance and the cost and all the rest of it. So we agreed to one night a week, but quickly enough, it was 3 nights a week, And he was coming down the road in the car, like, and he'd be buzzing. He'd be on the phone to everybody, he'd be ringing on the way down. And this is the great life of a teacher, you see. Finished at 2:30 he was. And off down the road, in the phone, having a crack with everybody, and talking to me then about the session maybe, and what we're going to do that night, and having a crack about different teams. And look, he's just panicky, as So that was how it started. And as I say, it went from one night to every session, and we made huge progress. Because he took a load off my workload and brought a new dimension to it. And the game has become very tactical, but I'd say down here we were a bit slow to catch on to that. Ulster football would have been seen to be very dour and all the rest, but it was actually a very tactical game up there. Fascinating game, like a game of chess at times. And only the top counties really were tactically aware like that, So the lads learned an awful lot very, very quickly. We developed our game plan, we improved our game plan, and we probably should have got promoted earlier than we did. We in 2017 were just tipped off, like we were third in the table, and we slipped up against London that year, if you remember, at Cullen Park.
That's right, yeah.
Game. The bet is 2-15-16. We had a dire performance, absolutely dire performance. And sure, our heads were down after that, because we had started very well. We played Westmeath, we had drawn with Westmeath up in Westmeath. We seemed to have, we had great battles with Westmeath over a few years there. So that game in London was a real downer for everybody, really, really downer. Now that was one of the low points, I'd say, of the whole 6 years, But look, we picked it back up, and we beat Limerick the next game. I think Leitrim, was it? Limerick it was, yeah, I think. No, yeah, Limerick. And then we were away to Leitrim. I think we lost up in Leitrim. We had a good win over Waterford, and we had a big win over Wicklow, which is something that we had turned the tables on Wicklow in this period. If you remember, Wicklow had Carlow under the cosh for a good number of years. We couldn't beat them, and they haven't beaten us since I started. So I was delighted with that. We turned the tables there, and we stayed on top of them. And we hammered Wexford in the last game, 2-14-1-7, I think it was. So we finished third. That game against London cost us promotion. We would have been promoted if we had drawn with London. We would have been promoted because we had beaten Wexford in the head-to-head. So look at, again, it was progress. We were third in the table. We were bitterly disappointed that we hadn't got promoted, but we knew, we were playing Wexford in the first round of the Champions as well. So it was the era of Banty in Wexford, and there was a lot of talk about Wexford and this Wexford that, and he came up to Carlow, if you remember, with kind of a second string team lead. It was a bit of an insult, really, in a way, but we sent him packing anyway, and we played them in the first round of the Championship at Cullen Park, and I thought we played really well, really, really well. I still got some consolation scores at the end, to make it respectable looking, but we dominated that game now, and obviously the carrot for us then was Dublin the next round, Ireland champions and one of the greatest teams of all time, and nobody could see a way of beating Dublin. Nobody could see anybody, only Dublin this and Dublin that, but we had a different approach with it altogether, so that was something to look forward to,
Jeez, it was big time, and I suppose the buzz coming up to that was incredible, and there was a bit of talk, of course. 12 months previous, Laois had played Dublin, but O'Moore Park wasn't suitable. They played in Nolan Park, and then all of a sudden, when it was Carlow playing Dublin, O'Moore Park was suitable. I suppose one of the regrets was that it wasn't in Dr. Cullen Park, or Netwatch Cullen Park. Let's get the sponsors' name right.
Yeah.
But in O'Moore Park that day, I mean, that was absolutely electric, and I remember being up there in the press box, and from a supporter's point of view and from someone working in the media, you're obviously a little bit anxious up in the box because you're thinking, right, we don't want to get blown away here. But 3 points down going into half time, I mean, was that beyond your wildest dreams even as manager?
No, it wasn't really, now, to be honest with you. No. We'd done a lot of really, really good work before the Dublin game. Obviously we were buoyed up by the win over Wexford and the strong finish to the league, and mentally we were in a great place, and physically we were in a great place, and we're really relishing this challenge because the mindset now had changed, not forgetting on Carlow, because before 2014, we were being beaten out the gate and heads were down and there was no belief, expectations were low. We were feeding off of that, if you like, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. But now the tide is beginning to turn, and expectations within the team, never mind outside the panel or anything else, supporters, but expectations with the team were changing. We could see progress, we could see structure, we could see organisation, we could see how teams won games, we could see how teams were losing games, and we had a far better understanding of how to win at inter-county level, because a lot of teams in the past, in my opinion, would have gone out and said, look, we'll go and do our best, that was kind of it, There's no real science to it or anything, But we were really prepared for Dublin. We had done a lot of work on Dublin. We knew their kick-out strategies, and one of the things we said we were going to do was we're going to try impose our game on Dublin rather than let Dublin impose their game on us. Because if we allowed them to dominate us, we wouldn't get the ball past the halfway line, So we really had to work hard on that, and we had some brilliant kick-out strategies that worked very well for us. In fact, we nearly got a goal off a long kick-out over the top. We had some calls in our own kick-out, Alan Kelly, Hughie Gann. People were wondering at times, actually, you could hear everybody shouting Hughie Gann or Alan Kelly, and they might have been playing. And it was the kick-out call. So it was very funny, so look, we weren't stupid. We weren't naive. When you if Dublin could get a run, and yet maybe they could put up a big score, and they could put a team away. But look, we were in a different headspace. We had great belief. And with no nerves. This was really, you could say bonus territory, but it was a challenge. It was what we were dreaming about for years and years of playing, Division 1 teams on sunny summer days, championship football. We hadn't been getting anything like that, and especially coming into a game like that where you knew you had prepared well. Damien had the team in great condition, much better than ever been before. Like the body shapes of some of our players changed dramatically from 2014. If you remember that night they did the boxing with the hurlers?
Yeah, I do indeed, over in the Dolman.
Yeah. Well, I took photographs the night of the lads were doing their shaping up, they were stripped off to their jocks, and I had the photographs still. And if you look at the body shapes from then and how they are now and the conditions they're in now, there's no comparison, you see. And so we're, this is where you get your confidence from. This from good preparation. We were in great shape. We were in fine fettle. We were very well coached. We were very tactical, and our confidence was up as a result. And confidence is a huge thing in football. Belief is a huge thing. And this was the millstone around our neck for years and years. We had no real confidence. We had bravado, all right. We said, we can win here, but we hadn't done the work. And deep down, players know that you haven't done the work. And when things start to go against you, they really go against you. But that wasn't the case with this team, because they had the work done. They had the belief. We had strategized about the game. We had talked about what would happen if, Dublin scored first and we scored first. Or, all these things were talked about. And we analysed the referee and how he'd handle the game. There was no stone left unturned. So, no, it was no surprise to go in 3 points down at half-time, to be honest with you.
Savage detail put into it. And, a very good performance, which was well received from everyone throughout the country. And Sean Murphy gets man of the match.
Unbelievable performance, sure. Unbelievable. I mean, I still think with a tackle he made, he ran back 40, 50 yards and dispossessed. I'm not sure who it was, but he got the hand in. That was a brilliant tackle.
It was unbelievable.
That was one of the great plays of the game. He was fantastic. It was thrilled for Sean. Sean Murphy came into us. He hadn't been playing with the hurlers previously. I would have known Sean, and Tommy would have known Sean back from underage. We always got on very, very well with Sean. Sean's a lovely fella. Lovely fella. Very quiet chap for the country. And he fitted into the panel really, really well. The lads loved him. They loved him, and he blossomed. He blossomed in the football panel. He really blossomed, and his sheer natural strength and speed. We often joked in the field, actually, when we have a race, we'd set up a race between himself and Marcus Lauder, see who was the fastest. Yeah. So that was great, and Dublin didn't concede. We didn't concede a goal to Dublin that day, and that was really important. Brendan got sent off. There's 4 points in it. I think we might have been a lot closer if that hadn't happened. It was a harsh sending off. And we came out with our heads held high. We were after really, really putting Carlow on the map really with the performance. And if you look back over the rest of the championship, it was probably the best performance against Dublin all year. Yeah, it was incredible. And I suppose what it led to then was, first of all, a lot of people buying tickets with Ryanair and Aer Lingus to get across to London. And then, which was obviously a great time. But I remember being at the Leitrim game then in Cullen Park. And I don't know if I've ever seen a crowd at an all Division 4 encounter as it would have been, albeit in the championship before. The crowds were just raining in after that Dublin performance. They were, yeah. Look, I think Carlow people were just hungry for a team to follow, And one of the things that happened too was, we realised, that, the image of Carlow was very poor, within the county and outside the county, and teams outside Carlow expected to beat us. I'd often buy the provincial newspapers, and before National League games and see what they're saying about us, and try to get a few insights into what's going on in the camp that we're playing against. And without fail, they would nearly all dismiss Carlow, So we wanted to change that. And one of the things we needed to change that was that our media image was much better, So any chance we got, we tried to promote Carlow. And we took up any chance we'd get with interviews for the players or the management. At times it's a pain, But I really feel that this is a big mistake in the GA at the moment, where teams are denying access to players, to the media, to journalists. The journalists are promoting the game for us. We have a responsibility to promote the game. We got the benefit of it over the last 5 years because we became media darlings because we were open and we were honest. We expressed our opinions. There was no talking to players, telling them what to say. We let them express themselves freely. Likewise with management, and we were often controversial, but we were honest and we gave our opinions. And I think that was appreciated because if you look at what's happening at the moment, most of the interviews with players at the moment are coming, for the top teams, are coming at sponsor events. And you have all the media assembled together, and every newspaper the next day has the same story.
Correct.
It's banal. It's not doing anything for the game. We're all glued to watching Let's Dance. Michael Jordan in the basketball. Fantastic access. And look at that for promotion for basketball. That's what we need to be doing in the GA. So we embraced that early on. And I thought it was a smart move for us. I thought it worked really, really well for us. The public got behind us. Obviously, the Dublin result was massive. The progress we're making in the league. So it was building nicely, And now we had a home game in the qualifiers against a team that we could realistically beat, Leitrim. Now, Leitrim were very, very confident coming down. I think John O'Mahony was with them there, wasn't he? Was John O'Mahony with them?
I think he was involved, yeah. Yeah.
And they were very confident coming down that they were going to reverse the result in the league, But we were too strong, to be honest with you. We played really well again, 14 to 13 points. A lovely fine summer's day. Great time for football, So there we are now. We have two qualifier wins under our belt, and we win over Wexford in the championship. So it's a great job already,
Fantastic. And Monaghan coming to town. I think that was possibly one of my favourite ever days. That I was unfortunate enough to not be there for the Kildare game. I was stuck in bloody studio that day. But I remember going to the Monaghan game, and that was just incredible. And even though we lost that game, it was just one of those games, obviously, that we could have won, but the buzz behind it and the fact that we were able to compete with a side that, who've been contesting all our semi-finals, and it was just really hard to believe, I suppose, all of a sudden. Yeah,
but Kevin, this is my argument all along. Here we are, we're playing Monaghan, and Monaghan's about the same size as Carlow, but the same number of clubs. And likewise, you look at Westmeath, you look at Laois, they've all achieved something. And we were sitting at the bottom of Division 4, year in, year out. We could make no progress. Leitrim out of Division 4, Whittle out of Division 4, but we were stuck at it. We were making no progress whatsoever. And this was riling me all down the years. How the hell is it that we're stuck down here? Why aren't we doing something about this? The only ones who could do this were ourselves. So, Monaghan coming to town wasn't something that scared us. We knew they were great football inside. Obviously, the class footballers, Conor McManus, the Hugheses and Rory Began and Conor McCarthy, all those guys are top-class footballers. But again, Steve was very familiar, of course, with the Ulster teams, which is a big plus to us. So he had a lot of work done on Monaghan. He knew a lot about them. One of his great strengths is his analysis. He could do video analysis, 5-6 minute video analysis, the morning of a game. We usually get together the morning of a game, about a home game. We might get together about 11 o'clock, half 11, depending on the time of the game. We have a bit of breakfast. And then Stevie do a bit of analysis. He do it 5 or 6 minutes. So relevant what we're going to do that day and what to watch out for in the opposition. And it was short, it was easy to remember it, and we had our homework done, in other words, Look, we had him beaten, really, to be honest with you. We had him on the rack, and unfortunately we made, I think, 2 mistakes. We turned over ball at a crucial stage of the game. We had the game in the palm of our hand for winning, really, and they turned us over, they got the goal, and they pushed on and won the game. But look, at everybody was blown over by the performance, really, because again, Monaghan were a top side, top class side, top class footballers here in Dr. Cullen Park. So this is what people are craving, and this is a big mistake we're making in the GA. There's too many games in Croke Park, in my opinion. We should bring them out to, the county venues, and in particular in Leinster Championship, should play home and away. We were to play Offaly this year, and we said we'd toss for the venue. I think I had no problem playing Tullamore, and I think it's better atmosphere at the local grounds. And so we had them in Carlow with a massive crowd. Great to see the Carlow flags and jerseys, and look, a great occasion. And that year, we got a lot of criticism for the way we played football, but much of it was ignorant. It was ignorant, to be honest with you. They didn't understand what we're doing, People say we were defensive. We weren't defensive. We're no more defensive than anybody else. If you look at close-knit Dublin games, you'll see how many players get back behind the ball. The difference is how well you can transition from defence to attack, and that's the advantage that Dublin have. They're friggin' gazelles. So that year, we scored 10 goals in the National League that year. We're one of the top scoring sides in the National Football League. I'm not talking Division 4 now. I'm talking about over the 4 divisions. Our scoring record that year was very, very good. And there's been some amazing statistics produced by some of the statisticians about this, Our progress was phenomenal, and I think that was overlooked by the critics, They're all like to have a go at you, the Joe Brawleys of this. Joe Brawley, Jesus Christ. These lads love to have a go at you, and it's a soundbite for them. But, it's offensive to players and team managers in small counties who are trying to do their best and listen to nonsense and guff from the likes of those. That's not analysis. That's just sensationalism, It's just headline grabbing. But anyway, that's his problem.
You went on with Wooly Parkinson as well, and Wooly had a pop of Carlow on a few occasions, but you still went on and fought your battle with him. Which
yes, I did. I give it back to him. I'll give it back to him again tomorrow if he wants it.
Yeah, he's covering the similar cloth as Brawley at times, I would find.
Yeah, look, I think there's been a big failing in Carlow football and in the other counties that are like Carlow, that they don't stand up for themselves. That they've accepted their position, that they're going to be whipping boys, that they're going to be beaten out the gate, that that they have to take this nonsense from Brawley or from Parkinson. You don't have to take any of it. Stand up for yourselves and fight back. And I think this is a weakness for... I had this discussion by message this morning with a player from another county who was contacting me, and this is what he admired about Carlow, was that we stood up for ourselves and we fought for ourselves. And I made the point where I said, all these counties should be standing together. They should have a strategy about what they want to achieve, with this tier 2, and that's why it's been defeated, because they have no structure, there's no strategy, they're not working together to prevent it happening, and we're being sidetracked now by a president from Dublin, the All-Ireland champions, who wants to concentrate on the top 8, the Super 8s. That's basically what they're talking about. That's not what GA is about. And look, yourself, it's a big pet hate of mine, and it's so important, as I say, that we fight for everything we get. That we just don't accept what people are throwing up at us.
Yeah, and I suppose that those stats were kind of further emphasised in 2018. I'll come to the promotion and that day up north in a few moments' time, but I think in those 2 championship games against Louth and Kildare, there was a combined total of, I think, was it something ridiculous in 2 games. Anyway, you got 2-14 against Kildare, and it was a 2-17 against.
That's right.
Louth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Huge.
It was huge massive scores in 2 games for a team
defensive teams. Now they'll tell you they're from frees. That's fine. Why do we get frees?
Earning them
because we're fouled in scoring positions. Thanks very much. We'll take those.
Yeah, and just on that as well, just while I have you, I mean, I've been speaking to the likes of Mark Carpenter recently on this podcast, and Simon Ray is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Do you think if you had the like of a Simon or a Mark that maybe more scores would have come from play? And again, it's not a pop at lads that are there, but it just seemed going back 10, 15 years ago, we had maybe a couple of more naturally free scoring forwards.
It's, Kevin, really, it's a pointless argument, really. We didn't have them, and you can't compare eras even, I look back to that era, actually, and this is one of the frustrations for me. We had brilliant footballers in that era, and brilliant defenders as well, and we squandered it, in my opinion. We should have been making progress much, much, much sooner than we did with the team previous to this. In my opinion, we should have been playing Division 2 football years ago, quite honest with you. We had class footballers, we had class midfielders. We had everything, really. But what we did have, though, we had a huge turnover of players at times and a huge turnover of managers, which didn't help us, So, look, it's a different era. So, it's like picking these teams of 50 years. Like, I mean, it's, there's 100 opinions on it, so I don't really get into that.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, let's go back to 2018 then in promotion. 6 games on the trot, 6 victories. And it was snowing pretty heavily, I think, that day up north. So, unfortunately, a lot of supporters couldn't actually be there. But what a day.
Yeah, look, that was a very bad winter. For some reason, the last few winters have been horrific, actually, horrific. The worst weather we've ever trained in has been the last 2 or 3 winters. It was non-stop. We had either snow or gale force winds or freezing temperatures, rain. We had everything. But that weekend was pretty bad. It was snowing, and we went up. We stayed in Tyrone, actually, and peg snow when we were up there, and the word came through and the roads were blocked, so the supporters couldn't come up. But some got up. Some had come up the night before as well. So we had a small crowd up there supporting us, and it was a real battle. It was you're going to Antrim at the moment, like, and there's no dedicated county ground, and all their club pitches, they're not really wonderful for spectator-wise, accommodation-wise, and so you always know it's going to be a batter, tight pitches, and Antrim would fancy themselves as well. They're always some lovely forward talent in Antrim, and to be very arrogant and cocky, probably because of Belfast, maybe, a city kind of a outlook on it, and they'd always fancy beating Carlow, so. Mind you, we had some great results in Belfast. We drew up there previously as well. Look, it was a tough battle. It's a tough battle, tough conditions, and look, we got the result, and we knew we were going up, which was fantastic. I mean, unbelievable. Such a release of emotions after the game between the players and the supporters that were up. Like, it was just incredible. And I don't think it'll ever be forgotten by the players. Finally, at last, we got out of Division 4, because it's been so hard. As I said, the year before we were third, the year before that we were fourth, and fifth year before that. And, you're always thinking, geez, we're ever going to do it, and this is my fear with the Tier 2 championship. Like, a lot of counties that are saying, yeah, we'll go ahead with that, they might never get to the final of it even. They might even get to the final of it. It could be dominated by the top teams in Division 3. And, they're cutting their noses off despite their faces. And, Look, we achieved it. That was the big goal from the time I came in, was to get the team out of Division 4. Could we show, that we did have the footballers, that we did have the ability to compete at a higher level, and that day up in Antrim we proved it without a doubt that we did. And look, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it'll stay with us to the grave.
Yeah, fantastic times. A couple of disappointing outings then against the boys across the borough.
Yeah. Look, again, there was 3 very disappointing outings against Laois, really, in my opinion, because I do think we had a better team than Laois, but we didn't perform on any of the days, really, even though we were close enough in some of them. Like, the last game they won by a point, didn't they, in Carlow, and
that's right, yeah,
8 points, yeah, and then the better in the league final, 15 points to 11. Again, I thought we allowed ourselves get caught, really. We played into their hands, really. They were kind of mirroring us and what we were doing, and we didn't break out of it, it was only 15 points to 11, but we should have been a lot closer, I thought. Thought we had a couple of goal chances, we didn't take them. So, look, it was the National League final in Croke Park. It's not to be sniffed at, Okay, you lost to the old enemy, but it was great progress. We weren't overly down about it because we knew we were going to push on again anyway, So, look at these things happen, as the fella said, definitely regret, especially the rivalries are keen, and it's great. Those rivalries are so important in GA, because a lot of, obviously, interchanges between Laois and Carlow in terms of club fixtures and challenge games and lads socialising in Carlow town, so they'll be very familiar with each other, and you always love to beat the neighbouring county, but there was nothing in it, and I think it was good sporting rivalry between us.
Absolutely. So then, the 2 games you mentioned, Louth first, a really complete performance almost, or we thought it was complete, and then we didn't kick away against Kildare. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a brilliant performance against Louth. When you go back, I think a couple of years before that, they had hammered us in Portlaoise, murdered us, 224 to 311, high scoring game as well. But this time, I thought we really bossed that game physically. Jesus, this was a huge Carlow team, really, and It's very rarely you see it in Carlow. We're bigger than the opposition. We were stronger, we were more powerful, we were fitter, we were faster, and we played brilliant football, absolutely brilliant football, like, you know, and they had no answer. It was 2-17 to 12 points, like, it was a big beating, like, and again, Louth would be, you know, it's a good little football county, like, you know, and some great club sides in it. You know, they'd see themselves as being far ahead of Carlow, I would say, you know. So it was a great win for us, and it set us up then for the game with Kildare now, and I suppose really that was the pinnacle really for me of our time. And you know, to go through a game like we gave a defensive masterclass, Kevin, that day. Like, they were absolutely brilliant. The work rate of the players working back the field, transition to attack. You know, 214 to 110, no wide. Like, you couldn't forecast it, like, you know. And I felt if it had gone on for another 10 minutes, we'd have won by a lot more even. And you know, it's not that long ago. I'm going back to 2014 now, and Kildare Juniors were the only team who would get to play us. You know, the senior team wouldn't even entertain us. And I'm sure that was in their heads as well. You know, they felt Carlow were there to be got out of the way, really, you know, and move on to the next round, like, you know. And they had no answer. You know. And look, you have to give the credit to our lads 100%. We were the better team. We played a better football from the 1 to 15, and the subs that came in, they all gave outstanding performances. You know, there was no bad performance from a Carlow player that day. I think every one of them was on top of their man. And as I say, I think Carlow people will remember that forever and ever, like, you know. And just fantastic.
Yeah, they say Horse's goal was like a moment in time. It just seemed to go in slow motion. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But we'll never forget that, you know, and to see a cornerback come up and doing that, like, you know. But look, we've been working on that. We're talking about transition, you know. In the modern game, here you have a cornerback stepping up and scoring a goal at far end, being very composed as well. If you think of what he had to do, like, he had a lot of work to do, and Kerry did beautifully and put it in the corner net. Like, it was a fantastic finish, absolutely fantastic finish, you know. And that's the modern game. You need to be able to go from defence to attack, and you know, you've got to be able to finish if you're in that position. And he did the job that day. And it's something that he'll cherish the rest of his life.
The boys across the borough got the better of us again in Leinster semi-final, unfortunately. But I mean, the day against Tyrone then in particular, that was another massive day.
Yeah. Look, that was the scorching hot summer, like, you know. And Tyrone were one of the top teams for the last 10, 15 years, really. Mickey Hart, an iconic manager, coming to town, stars to the team as well. And you know, people again would have feared that you'd be beaten out the gate by these guys, and because they're, you know, I would have gone up with Tommy up to watch Antrim playing Tyrone in the Burn Cup, I think, that year, or not in the Burn, in the McKenna Cup up in Oma, freezing cold night, like. And you could just see how tactically superior they were to Antrim. You know, their movement was phenomenal. Colin Kavanagh was playing as a double sweeper, and they were just so organised, you know, And this was a team that was coming to meet us, like, you know. And obviously, you know, 2 All-Irelands under Mickey, and they've been phenomenal, like, county. It's a huge GA county, as you know. 1986 in All-Ireland final, and one of our own, John Owens, was involved in that year. John was in London, met up with Plunkett Donaghy, and ended up back in the Moy in Tyrone, transferred to play with the Moy, and got on the Tyrone panel. John was a beautiful footballer, absolutely class footballer. Got on that Tyrone panel anyway. But so they were coming down, and it was a packed occasion in Netwatch Cullen Park, and scorching hot day. The pitch was burnt to a cinder. There wasn't a green blade on it. It was all brown. And you know, the Kildare supporters or the Tyrone supporters came down and they had one of the great days for themselves. Even they said that afterwards, you know, that the reception got in Carlow was fantastic, because there has been a lot of negativity about Tyrone, you know, very unfair the way they're portrayed. Brilliant GA county, absolutely brilliant GA county, and you know, superb footballers, superbly conditioned. You know, these guys live, breathe, drink football. The rivalry with themselves in Armagh for that period was massive. And Mickey Hart was one of the revolutionary managers, you know. And we had him in Cullen Park, and again, we bossed that game in the early stages. The first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, Carlow were a better team. Without a doubt, we were a better team. We controlled the game. This is one of the things that Poacher brought is how we control games. We dictated the pace of games, and we talked about the Dublin game as well. About the Dublin setting, playing their game, and some would see it as spoiling the game. But at times we would slow the game down, and we try to break up the game, and we would disrupt the opposition's flow. And we did that against Tyrone, and we hit them on the break ourselves. And look at they got through for a goal, then a great goal. They worked through the middle, and kind of put the deal between the teams, and they won it. They won in the entry 14-1, It was a great Carlow performance, super Carlow performance that day again. And as I say, it was a massive occasion for the promotion of football in Carlow. Everybody was at it, I think. There was anybody who wasn't at it, and the colour, the jerseys, the children with the jerseys on them, and this is what it's all about. This is what the GA is all about. And these are the days that are so important to Carlow and Wicklow, Wexford, Leitrim. All these counties need days like that. If the GA is to thrive in the country, we don't want to, reduce it to 8 teams, because that's what's going to happen eventually if they keep going the way they're going. And I think we have to fight it as much as we can. But super day for us. We were absolutely buzzing after it. Even though we were defeated, it was fantastic. For the players there to mix with those guys after the game and swap jerseys and all that. It was great occasion.
It was indeed. So in 2019, I suppose it was a case of fine margins in the league. Could easily have been in the fight for promotion, but ultimately got relegated in the end, and not without controversy, I suppose. Let's be honest about it.
Oh, Jesus, stop the lights, will you? Look, we were relegated in injury time in the last day. Again, we were up in Portlaoise again, and the game went down close to the wire. We were depending on Sligo above an Offaly, or at home against Offaly, and with 30 seconds to go, it looked like we were home and dry, and we were going to stay in Division 3. And Offaly got a score at the very end to beat us on the head-to-head. And they stayed up and we went down, even though we had a better score difference they had on the day. So I suppose if you were looking at the table, you say we were 6th, they were 7th, but on the head-to-head, they were ahead. So, but we were very unlucky in 2019. We're up in Division 3, brilliant start, beating Sligo at home, 1-11-7, and up again to Westmeath, another draw in Westmeath. We seem to make a habit of drawing above Westmeath. Again, they're one of the favourites for promotion. We drew with them there, and super performance. So we had 3 points on the board already in the first 2 games in Division 3. It was looking great for us. We were playing Longford, and we had a very poor performance in Longford, one of our worst performances. Longford seemed to be one of those teams who just can't seem to get around as well. That was a disappointing performance. Heads dropped after that a little bit, I'd say. Went to Offaly, and again, some very, very controversial refereeing up here in Offaly. It's very hard to take these decisions when they happen. You just, it's so important that there's more consistency in the refereeing. I really feel it's affecting, the outcome of games, and it shouldn't be that way. I think the assessment process should be rectifying these mistakes. They shouldn't be being repeated, and it's happening with the same referees over and over again. And we had a number of players sent off that day for ridiculous things, absolutely ridiculous things. And actually, interesting to go that day it was an All-Ireland final referee doing the line that day. I was standing on the line, and an Offaly player, I won't say his name now, but he was on top of a Carlow player, he was on top of Jordan Morris. He told me to get up off him, and he got up, and he came over beside it, and he pushed me full on onto the chest, and the linesman standing beside the All-Ireland referee. I looked at him, and he looked away, and off he went, and there was nothing done about that, So these are things that frustrate you, I wasn't looking for anything about it, but it's just the fact that the inconsistencies are there, and so we were very, very, very frustrated that they came out of Offaly. We should have done better, but I thought the referee had a huge impact in that game. We bounced back then, get Loud, could have been over Loud again, and then, of course, the famous game of all, I suppose, would have been a down game, at home at Cullen Park. This was a huge game for many reasons, but Stevie in particular, Down man himself, proud Down man. Normally he'd be shouting for Down, but here he was on the sideline, plotting against Down, where he would have had, he would have had a lot of difficulties in down with the county board down the years, It's kind of, I suppose when you're passionate like Stevie is, and like myself, maybe at times you do get yourself in the wrong places. And you do draw attention to yourself that you shouldn't at times. But anyway, it was a huge game for Stevie, and he would know all the Down players as well. And Down obviously had ambitions too of, getting out of the division, and some shocking decision. At the end of the game, the way that game finished up, the game was over. The game was over, and the injury time was played, and the game was level. And he went on and he played extra time anyway and gave a free. I don't know what he gave the free for. Down kicked the winning score. We came back down the field. He kind of gave us a chance to get a chance. Went back down the field, then Sean Murphy's pulled down and blows the game off. I never saw the likes of my life, and look, we knew there and then, really, that was going to be a relegation, Down were thrilled. Down were absolutely thrilled. Down were sure they had achieved promotion themselves that day, but they got a nasty one the last day because Louth beat them at home in Newry, so just goes to show you, it's not over till it's over. But I thought the decisions that day were absolutely shocking, and obviously there was consequences afterwards. The referee's report was disgraceful. We had video evidence to disprove some of the things he said in that report, blatantly disprove it. And we had some very serious charges against myself, and they were disproved completely because there was cameras present to prove that. And when we appealed it, the suspension was increased to 20 weeks. So I don't know where the logic is in that, So it's frustrating when you have that happen, because after the hearings, you're talking to these people afterwards and they concede to you, that shouldn't have happened, but rules are rules, it's not right. Justice has to be seen to be done as well, and it's just not good enough that you're tied up in rules, really, and on that, as I said, on that particular occasion, we had evidence to disprove what was said, and it made no difference, So we went down to Laois in the last game, as I say, and Offaly got that winning score in injury time to get promoted or to stay up, and we went down. So that was very disappointing.
And was that the year out of tyres then completely for the rest of the year? Because obviously there was a couple of disappointing results. Did you feel at that point, things weren't going so well?
Brendan was out for the championship. Stephen was suspended. I was suspended. It was a huge blow to Carlow, And look, I suppose, I'll have to put my hand up as well and say, look, I should have known better. I knew the individual involved, and I knew what he'd done in previous games, and I should have just bit my tongue, but it's very hard. It's very hard to accept this. It's very when you put so much into it and you're getting blackguarded. It's really hard to accept it,
Yeah, I understand completely. I don't even know, is there, the only thing I would say in regards to 2020, because it's been so disrupted, was there a thought at any stage to maybe step down the end of last year when your best friend, I suppose, Tommy goes, Benji goes, Stevie goes?
Well, actually, at the end of the campaign, I was stepping away. I definitely was stepping away. But of course, Stevie rings me. He says, "Look, we'll stay on again. And look, we'll prove this was just a blip, and we'll get promoted again. We'll win it. We'll go back and win it. That was the aim. We'll go back and win it." And Stevie was all on for himself. Two of us were on for it. So, of course, it was a long summer, and Steve was at home, and he got used to not travelling down the road. It was a massive commitment on his part to be up and down the road, and it's particularly bad when you come to the winter months, and the roads are frosty, icy, wet, potholed, and he's making that journey 3 days a week, and I'd say he probably came on a little pressure at home, from the family life, and he had a rethink about it, and he said, "Look, I'm not going to be able to do this, I can't face it." He had changed schools as well. He was now in Craigavon, and that was further north, but it was off the motorway, so it wasn't too bad in one way, but it was still, it was a long journey again for him that he was facing. And he said, "Look, I just don't have the heart to do that journey anymore, and I have to think of the family." And it's kind of burnt out like I was myself. And So I said, look, I can't do it. So that was it. So he was gone, and then had to get a replacement, So Stephen O'Mara came on board then. Stephen's a dub, and very good and analytical mind, very good analysis. And he was only finding his feet, really, because if you remember, we had Aero going through the Leinster Club final, so we didn't have them until about the week before the league final, really. And then you had the Sigerson going on as well. So the panel was disrupted, so it was very hard to get any really good quality tactical work done in that period. And then, of course, COVID came as well, so there was the season was completely messed up, but we were tipped off. We were leading in injury time in most of those games where we dropped points, bar the Wexford game, and we really should have got results there, and we would have been contention for promotion. And that would nearly have been worse, to be quite honest with you, because here we are now in June, and no one knows what's happening with promotion and relegation. And I just hope that they find some way to resolve that for the counties that are in that position, because it's most unfair if the league is abandoned now and Limerick and Antrim and Wexford, whoever it is, are in contention, don't get to step up to Division 3. I think it'd be very hard on them, because it's very hard to go back again if that happens, if it's taken away from you like that. So I think they'll have to find some way in early 2021 to finish those games that are, that are going to affect relegation promotion. So, look, you would say that, look, we had a bad year. We didn't really have a bad year. We were just being tipped off, Kevin, really, and we could just as easily be in promotion position as where we were. The camp was training very well. Things were going quite well when we had everybody back. And we're beginning to we're still had some great ideas about attacking play, which maybe we needed to develop in our game. And we were working on that. We had some great ideas. You'll probably see some of the clubs in Carlow use them this year, in fact, I'd say, to improve their own games, So, look, the season didn't finish. That's the bottom line, really, So it's the same for everybody.
Right, so I have a couple of other things to get to now, right? And I'm conscious of time here, so I don't want to keep you all day, because you have to get a bit of dinner there this evening and all that kind of stuff. Right. But anyway, I want to talk about your friendship with Tommy Wogan and what you've done down through the years as well, because I'm reliably informed you won 13 minor championships with Éire Óg. You've never lost a county final with Éire Óg. He reckons he carried you for most of your career. I have photo evidence now to prove that, because you're on his back going around the Blasket somewhere. You've been to Chicago. You went around in a silver dream machine. You kicked around with Mick O'Connell.
We did.
And you ate some random guy's apple tart on the way without him knowing as well. That's quite your friendship.
Yeah. Look, you have to hear the whole story then, because Tommy, he tells tales, and it's simply got our legs too, He's not going to put a little bit onto an old story, so I'm not to embellish it. When I got to know Tommy Wogan many years ago, the two of us were in the Rugby Club Disco. He was going out with a girl, and I think she had dumped him, lucky for her, and he was down in the dumps. Tommy's a very emotional fella. He shows it straight away. I didn't really know him that well. I knew who he was. We were in school, we weren't friends, so I had a car. He had no car. I said, "Do you want to lift home?" I gave him a lift home down to Green Lane to his mother's house, and I said to him, "Listen, I'm going over to Galway tomorrow. John Connolly's playing his last hurling game for Castlegar, and I'd like to go over and see it. Do you want to come over?" And Tommy wasn't really into hurling at the time. He says, "So sure, Grant, so pick me up," he says. So picked him up the next day. Over we go to Galway anyway, and on the way we find out the game is called off. It's not on. So then we said we'll go to Westport. I think Galway were playing Mayo in the championship in Westport. So we went over to Westport. We only had the car. We had no arrangements to stay anywhere. Tommy knew somebody that stayed in a house in around Westport House. I don't know, I think he knew someone from Anchor or something years ago. And that didn't work out too well anyway, because there was a big gang of people back to the house, and the mother woke up and she threw everybody out. So we were on the side of the road then, went over to go. So we drove out the road. We had to sleep in the car that night in front of looked like an old broken down cottage, and we got up in the morning about 6 o'clock and started kicking ball on the road, and just kind of looked at the house and kind of rattled the door a little bit, and there was somebody inside the house. So we just got the car and flew away. That was kind of the start of it. So then we got together and we started. Tommy got involved in football with me, I would have been playing a lot of football at the time, obviously. And we were the first 2 of 3 that completed level 1 coaching in Carlow. The third one was Niamh Dobbs, the great Niamh Dobbs from Fenagh, and the 3 of us completed down in Wexford in, I think, Murphy Floods it was. Yeah, we were the first level 1 coaches in Carlow in football. And it kind of blossomed from there. We were absolutely like sponges to learn, and we travelled the country to find out something and look at teams training. We were at more training sessions of teams we shouldn't have been at, and just hungry for knowledge, really, and looking to get better at it, and of the same mind, like, that, Jesus, why can't we do what they're doing, and maybe a bit naive at times, maybe, but that was our approach, like, and our travels took us all over the country. Distance was no object whatsoever. We were down in Kerry one year, and I had a van, and 2 girls were with us, and we went over to Adventure Island, and Tommy said, I'd always love to meet Mick O'Connell, he says. And driving down the road anyway, Tommy's in the back of the van, actually, and I can see Mick O'Connell walking in the same direction as I'm going along the road. And I come to a halt right beside Mick O'Connell. I said, Tommy, open that door quick. And he opens the door, and there's Mick O'Connell looking in at him. So out he gets anyway, and Mick says, come up to the house. So we went up to the house to Mick anyway, and we had a great chat with him, an absolutely great chat with him. Mick O'Connell was, a gentleman, a lovely man, bit of an introvert, different man to Mick O'Dwyer now, completely different, and one of the greatest footballers of all time, like, but took out the football in O'Neill's football in the garden, and he started belting the ball across the garden to us, and you had to catch it first time on your chest. He didn't do that. He'd be roaring at you. So we're at that for about half an hour, and then he says, come out here, he says, I want you to jump over this, and he took out this big stake, and he put it on top of the gate pillars at the front gate. And he's in his 60s now at this stage. He says, I want you to jump over that. He says, will me back jump over. In and out over, he was jumping himself for about 10 minutes. Mick up. It was amazing, absolutely amazing, So we had great escapades like that around the country. We were in the dressing room in Fitzgerald Stadium after the Munster Final one year with Kerry and Cork. We got on the pitch, and before we knew it, the 2 of us were in the dressing room with the Kerry lads sitting down between them all. And Billy Morgan came in to give the speech at the end of it to thank them for the game. There we are sitting there with the Armor listing and Mike Sheehan and them all of us. Mad stuff like that happened to us, So we had this great old love of the game, and Tommy was great. Tommy was great for making introductions to people and get the chat with them. And we could end up anywhere. Like we were all over the country, and there were great days. We were great friendship out of it, and we did train minor teams together. And I think we did win 13 minor championships. We never lost a final at any level. We never lost a senior final either. And Tommy was the most underrated coach I've ever come across, really. Like, he never got the credit he should have got. He was my right-hand man all the way through, and I couldn't say enough good things about him. And any club he was with, he made a fantastic impression on the players, because what you see with Tommy is what you get. He's a really, really sincere and genuine fella, and as I say, I always wanted the right thing. The difference between me and him is, I'd say Tommy's too nice. I am probably a bit too ruthless, We're kind of, that's the kind of personalities we are, I suppose, But we certainly, we had 1 year at the minor. I think I heard Paul Kelly talk about the other night there. We were going out to play Kildare in the minor league. When I had the young lads in the minors in the back of the car, and I heard them talking, they're saying, Joe Roach always picks up Eric McCormick, no matter where he goes. I wouldn't have known him at that stage, because they're only coming up from under 16, I suppose, and wouldn't have known that. But Joe Roach always picks up Eric McCormick. Wherever he goes, he always picks him up, and thought no more about it anyway. And lo and behold, championship came around anyway, and the 2 of us ended up in the final, I think it was. And Eric got injured. He tore his hamstring and couldn't play. And Joe Roach was, in our minds, their best player. He was going to be centre back. Eric was going to be centre forward. So we lined up Eric centre forward anyway. And we had told him beforehand, look, you're not even going to touch the ball. Once you go to the corner flag, once you stand on the corner flag, we're going to roar and shout at you to get out of the game, and so on. You're going to give out to us back. And that was the play anyway. And he went to the corner, and Joe Roach followed him anyway, and he stood beside the corner flag for, let's say, 55 minutes. And at that stage, we had Calavin bet. they brought Joe out for the last few minutes. It was too late. That was one of the great things that happened. One of the great funny memories we have, But the great thing about those years was, though, that I suppose we loved training minor teams. And to be honest with you, I never wanted to do anything else, only train minor teams. But I suppose the Hanrons, the Blues got on top there in '98. Great team, won that Leinster Championship. And we're still on top there, through the early 2000s. And Aero couldn't seem to get their act together, really. Like, it looked like we're never going to win a championship in the noughties. It was really looking like that, And in 2005, then I said, I can't look at this any longer. I'm going to put my name in for the senior job. And I got it, and Tommy came with me, and so we had a great relationship with the players because we had them up through the underage, the minors and under 21 teams, and we had a fantastic relationship with the players. And it was a super Aero team, super Aero team. It was full of character, and I thought that was probably the best win we ever had in the county final. Was that one over the Hanrons in that county in 2005? That was a very, very physical battle, and we won that physical battle with a very young team. The Hanrons were expected to win that game easy, but we turned the tables on them, and really we launched ourselves forward then, for the rest of the decade, and the Hanrons fell away after that. But at that time, we used to do very innovative things. We bring the lads off for training, Coraclaw, or we brought them to Loughry College in Cookstown for a session with John Morrison, the whole day with John Morrison on the Saturday. And this was in August time, I think, and with a brilliant day, absolutely brilliant, 24 players, brilliant day, stayed in the dormitories in the college. There was no distractions, got our work done. And the next morning, then the lads thought we were training again the next morning. But in fact, we had a game arranged. So we hopped the boys in the car, didn't tell them where we were going. We drove to Lavey in Derry, and Mickey Moran and John Morrison were in charge of Derry at that time, and were in the All-Ireland semi-final, I think it was. And they wanted to try their game plans. And the Aero team played that full Derry team in Lavey in a practice game. No one knew about it. We were there to try and disrupt their game plans, and it was the most fantastic learning experience for the players. And they got massive confidence out of massive belief. Here we're on the pitch here, with Enda Muldoon and Bradley and all these guys, and it's just getting great belief in themselves, and it rose their I suppose their ambitions and their expectations of themselves, and it kind of took off from there, really, So we did some great things like that down the years, and we built great friendships with the players. It was always about, really, it wasn't really about winning as such, really, I suppose, really about the will to win, really, more than anything else, and preparing properly and doing things right, I'd be kind of a strict disciplinarian in many ways, that I wouldn't like any messing going on off the field. And I would be very strong on that, and any teams we'd involve with, we wouldn't tolerate it. And players knew that, and we never had to make any rules as a result afterwards. And that's just the way we operated. And the players were they're all clued in, and it's the same with the county team at the moment. Players are clued in, and you don't need to be making rules. You don't need to have any great disciplinary codes, nothing like that. Lads are doing it because they want to do it, and they're putting too much into it to mess around, So, we had great days. Now, we had another day up there. We went up one weekend and we stayed in a falling down hostel near Carlingford, in Meath, and we had a weekend up there. We did the day training and team building stuff, and next morning we went over to Mullabon and we played Mullabon in a practice game, and Simon Ray had to drive up. He couldn't stay for some reason. I don't think Tracy would let him away. He was under her thumb all the time. He still is, and so he had to drive home then on his own. No, he brought some lads with him as well. And of course, he got to Dublin. Of course, that Dublin, Simon, a country chap, he ended up nearly in Wexford. That's how good a sense of direction he has. He got home 2 days later, I think. So they're the sort of things that happen on the way.
Yeah, and just to add as well, with those 13 minor championships, you won a lot of them when you weren't actually that much older than the players. So I know, Garvin Ware and Muckle and the lads, you would have coached minor winning championship teams that they were playing on.
Yeah, we would have. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we wouldn't have been much older than them, to be honest with you. Yeah. Everybody said minor was a terrible grade to coach, that were difficult, and young lads are mad for action, mad to get out, and all that. But I found the exact opposite. I found they were eating out the palm of our hands. We'd done a lot of work, and we'd done a lot of preparation. We'd done a lot of work on the mental aspect of the game, the psychology of the game. We done a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally touch on, particularly at minor level, and those teams were so well prepared, that really, they were right out of the palm of our hand, and even though we were not much older than them, we had a great relationship with them. And as I say to you, it was as much about the journey with those lads as it was about the results. We didn't concentrate on the results at all, to be honest with you. They just happened. And I'll tell you what actually probably happened in fairness. We probably shouldn't have won all those championships. Because a lot of times, a lot of the teams, and Tell United in particular would have been guilty of this, would have been, when they got to the final, that they felt in their own minds they couldn't beat Éire Óg. And that's what happened. They couldn't beat us. And not so we won it by default, but they didn't know how to win. And that's probably a weakness in a lot of teams, even at intercounty level. That's Carlow had that problem, didn't know how to win, So there's a lot of learning along the way there, and that comes from the confidence that you build up in a team and the tradition and the culture around the team. The culture around the team is hugely important, Kevin. It has to be a healthy culture. It has to be a place where players look forward to coming to train. Players come and they are trusted. The management trusts them. And at times, players might take advantage of that, and people say, Jesus, he's pulling the wool over your eyes. But, at the end of the day, John Wooden, the great basketball coach, always said, my best friend is the bench. And that's where to go when they break that unwritten code. If someone wants to mess around, that's where they end up on the bench. And they learn their lesson eventually,
They do indeed. Listen, Turlough, we could go on forever, but I've something for you to listen to.
Go on.
Well, Turlough, I'd just like to give you a quick little message to say thank you so much for 6 years of my career. There's no doubt that it would have been a hell of a lot shorter only before you came in. I think you've always got a special place down in Kildown, Donegal with the people, and I think that bond is fairly evident for everyone to see. But look, from my own point of view, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for the whole panel for the last 6 years. It's been an incredible journey, and I've no doubt I will see you back on the sideline or in some capacity with Carlow GA in the future. Best of luck, Turlough. Thanks.
Hi, Turlough. I want to thank you for an amazing 6 years as manager of Carlow football. You've laid an incredibly strong foundation for Carlow football to build upon, and you've put us on the map. We had some great days: Tyrone, Dublin, Kildare, 2 outings in Croke Park, and most of all, promotion up in Antrim. You've given us all memories to cherish for a lifetime, and I know I'll never forget them. Personally, you've afforded me opportunities that without you would not have been possible. I want to thank you for the passion, the care, the attention to detail, and most of all for believing in us. I wish you every success and happiness in your retirement, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you in the football field not too long from now.
Hi Turlough, how's things? Little did we know back in May 2016, bank holiday weekend, myself, Marie and the girls ventured to Carlow for the very first time, and welcomed with open arms. Yourself and Tommy met us in the Talbot Hotel that evening, and little did we know what a bloody journey we would go on after that. We had some fantastic nights, some brilliant games, some phenomenal memories that'll last a lifetime, and for me, big man, particularly even with you, it was more than just football. We went on to strike up a great friendship, and I look forward to many more days where we can maybe cycle down the Barrow or go for a walk in the Mourns and reflect on what we achieved, because it was probably the 3 best years I've ever had on my coaching journey, and they'll be hard to surpass those years, and all thanks to yourself for taking me on board and welcoming me open arms, and also as well the love and the care that you showed my family as well always means a lot to me, and I'll take that for both me. So listen, well done on your 6 years, absolutely brilliant, and you really put Carlow on the map. Fair play to you, boy, and look after yourself.
Hi Turlough, Sean here. I just wanted to thank you for the last 13 years that we've worked together. Certainly your commitment, your hard work and your willingness to go the extra mile has really rubbed off on me, and I suppose the whole generation of players that you've coached. I think things with finally starting to look up. You got rid of Poacher and you got some sense and changed lads off the wing, put in the central positions, but unfortunately you've decided that it's time to go, and we understand your decision. From a personal note, I just want to thank you. You've really developed me as a player and as a person over the last 13 years. So again, I just wish you the very best of luck, and I hope everything goes to plan in the future.
Well, Turlough, Tommy here. Just want to say thanks for all you've done for me over the years. We've been on a fantastic journey, both of us. Had some great times together, both at club and county. And outside of that, been a great friend to me. And well done with Carlow. That's all I can say. Fantastic job, and wish you well. And I take it the bike will be coming out now, so may I dust it down and we go for a spin. All the best, Turlough. Thanks again.
Hi Turlough, Cora O'Reilly here. Just to say a big thank you for all you have done for Carlow football, especially the last few years. They were the greatest and very emotional days for us, the supporter. On a personal note, when my great late friend Claire was in hospital, you and Stevie, along with your players, made a get well video of messages and sent it to Claire in the hospital. Thankfully, she was able to listen and see it, and was overwhelmed that you were so concerned and took the time to put something like that together. It was a great source of comfort to her, and it was greatly appreciated by her family. I don't think you will be very far away from a training pitch, as I know you too long for that to happen. Enjoy your free time. Thank you.
There you go, Turlough. I think it's fair to say you meant an awful lot to a lot of people.
Wow, I'm overwhelmed with that, to be honest with you, Kevin. I don't know how to say. They're all great friends of mine, always will be, and that's what sport is all about, and the GA in particular gives you that, because we're all local to each other, and we all care about Carlow, and we care about each other, and that's what sport is about, really. Like, it's not about the winning. People might think it's not. It's about the journey you're on. It's about the will to win. It's about the friends you make, and those people are just amazing, just amazing. And I've been privileged to be involved with them, quite honest with you. I've been very privileged to be involved with them, because truthfully, it was this team, the managing team, I would say I put most of the credit on, and the players rather than myself, because my role actually started to reduce, I suppose, really, if I'm being truthful about it, and look, it's great to be a part of it, and look, I'm sure there's going to be plenty more good days ahead of us. Never mind the past, we look ahead to the future.
Well, look, I think you've been incredibly modest, and from my point of view, I just want to thank you, because I was kind of starting off in media when you were obviously starting off with Carlow, and yourself and Tommy and the lads made me feel so welcome. And I don't think there's too many people involved in media up and down the country that actually got to interview senior county managers in their own home. So I just want to thank you for that as well, from your own point of view, and say well done on a great innings with Carlow, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
You're more than welcome, Kevin. You're doing a great job, actually. It's a great podcast.
Good to hear you're enjoying it. Turlough, thanks a million.
God bless. God bless.
Yeah, so there you have it. The great Turlough O'Brien, who will go down as one of the best managers that Carlow senior footballers ever had. The voices you heard paying tribute: Daniel St. Ledger, Paul Broderick, Stephen Poacher, Sean Gannon, Tommy Wogan and Cora O'Reilly. Sean Gannon also wanted me to add that he said that Turlough was an incredibly modern and innovative coach, a role model and a great friend. That's it for this edition of the Left Wing Back podcast. We thank our kind sponsors, Carlow Cabs. You can download the Carlow Cabs app for a fast, reliable service from Carlow's #1 taxi company. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, especially if you listen on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. And of course, we did break into the top 16 in Ireland last week. And again, we were getting on fairly well with Paul Kelly's at the time of interviewing as well. We were up to 21 in Ireland. So thanks very much for that, and much appreciated. We're back on Monday with another special edition of the Left Wing Back podcast. We're continuing our My Time in the Gansey series, and another great story to be told. Until next time, take care.